It's no secret that Keir Starmer is a disciple of Tony Blair, and it's also no secret that Blair's influence on the UK and Europe has been absolutely massive. With its neoliberal economic policies and its leftist social policies, Blairism is really indistinguishable from globalism. It's that same globalism that's leading to a major political revolution in Europe, with lots of right-wing populist parties coming to or about to come to power because people are waking up that essentially voting for this globalism means losing your country in the long run. That's why, as per usual, while the BBC are running pieces about how the French left are keeping the French far-right out, they ignore why the French people are voting for the far-right in much higher numbers than normal. It is, of course, because many people across Europe feel they're losing their own individual identities, the demographic change is just too great in too short a time, and they're very concerned about the future. Of course, having such concerns to the globalist makes you a racist, somebody who's not welcome in modern Europe and is a stupid bigot on top of that. Yet these insults are wearing a bit thin and don't work so well on people anymore, and I think people like Tony Blair are aware of this. That's why I think he knows that this is globalism's last hurrah under Keir Starmer, so he has to do everything he can to try and maintain his and its power. Now, I recently did a video on globalists and globalism that goes into some detail about what these people ultimately want. I'll link that below if you want to check it out. But what we're seeing from Tony Blair is supposedly just helpful advice to Keir Starmer, although what it really is a clear mission to maintain his own political control. The way in which he's attempting to do this is another call for digital ID cards, supposedly this time to aid in us cutting migration. To me, this seems like pure politicking from Tony Blair. He knows that mass migration is a major issue for people in the UK, yet he also knows that digital IDs are very unpopular, so essentially he's trying to cancel out one with the other. Also, claiming ID cards are going to help us in cutting immigration figures is a total red herring. You should know already how many people are coming here and maybe consider closing the door from time to time to get a handle on things. And then if you do want to open the door every now and again, you should treat anybody coming here like a lodger and ask these incredibly complicated questions like, are they going to be suitable living here? What's their name? What country have they come from? And are they willing to integrate? Yet for some reason they never ever seem to do any of this and call anybody who challenges their policy an evil, stupid bigot. Mass migration, along with ID cards, are more evidence that globalists like Blair don't really value anything about Britain. ID cards are innately un-British. They're very detached from our tradition of individual liberty and freedom of conscience. And further, we know this is just a front because this isn't the first time Tony Blair has tried to implement ID cards. He tried it before under the shadow of COVID.
You need the data. You need to know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't been. Some of the vaccines that will come on down the line will be multiple. There'll be multiple shots. So you've got to have, for reasons to do with the healthcare more generally, but certainly for a pandemic or for vaccines, you've got to have a proper digital infrastructure, and many countries don't have that. In fact, most countries don't have that.
At both times, ID cards have been completely unnecessary, but again, the reason people like Blair want them is to maintain a sense of globalist control. The main issue with ID cards, as well as obvious data breaches, is ultimately how they allow the state to control the individual. Just think how at a time of rising populist dissent, things such as ID cards would be perfect to enforce some Chinese-style social credit system. Given the character of these woke authoritarian globalists, do you really think it would be beyond them to punish the populace for a comment they made that could be construed as homophobic 10 years ago on Twitter? Personally, I don't. I think that would be the perfect excuse for them to make out they're trying to help people and make the world more of an equal, loving and tolerant place, while really just enforcing their own operations behind the scenes. There is something very fishy about Tony Blair, and the rumours are that he's got his eyes on the top job at the WEF, taking over from Klaus Schwab. We'll see if that comes into reality. These are just some of my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.